When you finally turn inward, when you finally decide to place your attention on you instead of the noise around you, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to reclaim the energy you've been giving away, energy lost to stress, to comparison, to doubt, to fear. And the moment you call that energy back, you ignite a power within you that had been waiting patiently for you to remember it exists. Focus on yourself, not selfishly, consciously. Because every time you give your attention to people's opinions, to past mistakes, to future worries, you weaken your own signal, you dim your own frequency, you drift away from the person you are capable of becoming. But when you shift that focus inward, when you turn your awareness to your own thoughts, your emotions, your patterns, you begin rewriting the story from the inside out. Shift your energy, do it deliberately. Energy flows where attention goes, and your life is a reflection of where you've been placing your attention. If your energy has been tied up in negativity, your body has memorized stress as your default state. If your energy has been entangled in old wounds, your mind keeps replaying experiences that no longer serve you. But the moment you choose a new emotion, a new intention, a new inner direction, you change the signal you broadcast into the world. You become the architect of your future rather than the victim of your past. Every thought you think carries a frequency. Every feeling you allow vibrates out into your environment. When you shift from fear to gratitude, your energy rises. When you shift from self-doubt to self-belief, your power returns. When you shift from focusing on what drains you to focusing on what inspires you, your entire reality begins to reorganize itself around that new vibration. You want transformation, start with where you place your awareness. You want peace, start by withdrawing your energy from chaos. You want success, start by aligning your inner world with the future you desire. This is the moment you stop handing your power to external circumstances. This is the moment you stop letting people's behavior dictate your emotional state. This is the moment you reclaim your identity, your direction, your energy. Close your eyes and imagine the version of you who is calm, centered, powerful, unstoppable. Feel how that version of you breathes, feel how they walk, feel how they think, feel the energy they carry. Now choose to become that version, not someday, not later. Now, shift your energy into the person you want to be. Focus on yourself with intention, with discipline, with love. When you change your internal state, your external reality has no choice but to follow. Everything you want begins with one decision. I choose to focus on myself. I choose to shift my energy. I choose to become the creator of my life. And the moment you make that choice, the world begins to change with you. When you begin to understand that your energy is not just something you feel, but something you direct, something you invest, something you choose, everything about your life starts to shift. Your attention is the steering wheel of your inner world, and wherever you point it, your energy naturally follows. Most people walk through life scattering their attention everywhere, toward worries, arguments, old memories, fears of the future, judgments, and the constant noise of the external world. Every moment spent focusing on things that drain you is a moment where your energy leaks out of you, weakening your clarity, your confidence, your creativity, and your power. But the instant you withdraw your attention from all those unnecessary distractions and turn it inward, toward your breath, your mind, your body, your intentions, you begin to reclaim that energy piece by piece. The reason this principle is so powerful is because your attention has a measurable impact on your thoughts and emotions. When you give your attention to stress, your body contracts. When you give your attention to doubt, your energy drops. When you give your attention to comparison, you disconnect from your own potential. But when you invest your attention in your inner world, your growth, your healing, your vision, your energy immediately begins to rise. You are literally shifting the frequency of your inner state by choosing what you focus on. Most people never realize they are training their body to live in emotional states they don't want, simply by habitually giving attention to things they don't need. You might start your day feeling calm, but a single negative thought triggers another, and soon your entire energy becomes misaligned with the future you want. This is why understanding the connection between focus and energy is transformational. The moment you decide that your attention is precious, that it is not available for every distraction or every negative influence, you begin to control your inner world rather than letting the world control you. When you direct your attention inward, you interrupt the automatic patterns that have controlled you for years. You pause long enough to observe your thoughts instead of reacting to them. You notice the emotions that have been running your life without your permission. You recognize the stories your mind repeats over and over, and in that awareness, something incredible happens. You gain the ability to choose a new direction. You can choose a more empowering thought. You can choose a more elevated emotion. You can choose a higher level of energy. Your attention becomes your filter. It becomes the boundary that protects your energy. When you focus inward, you stop absorbing the chaos of the world around you. You stop giving your power away to circumstances you cannot control. You stop allowing external events to determine your internal state. Instead, you become intentional about how you feel, how you think, and how you show up. This inner focus is not about ignoring the world. It is about leading your life from a conscious state rather than a reactive one. When your attention is anchored within you, your mind quiets down, your emotions settle, your body relaxes, and your energy increases. You feel more present, more grounded, more alive. You become more aligned with the future you want instead of being stuck in the past you've already lived. And as your energy rises, your life begins to respond. You attract opportunities that match your clarity. You make decisions that align with your growth. You move with intention instead of impulse, because the truth is simple but profound. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your focus. When you direct it inward, you regain control of your energy. And when you regain control of your energy, you regain control of your entire reality. Every time you revisit the stories of your past, replay the moments that hurt you, or repeat the memories that no longer serve you, you bind your energy to an identity that is already behind you. Those stories might feel familiar, but familiarity is not the same as truth. Most people stay stuck because they keep feeding energy into experiences that are long over, allowing old emotions to dictate who they are becoming. The past becomes a loop, a cycle that repeats itself simply because your attention keeps bringing it back to life. But the moment you redirect that energy toward who you want to become instead of who you used to be, you interrupt the cycle and open the door to a new reality. Your identity is not fixed, it is shaped by where you place your focus. If you constantly think about what went wrong, what you lost, or how you failed, you are unconsciously reinforcing an outdated version of yourself. You wake up with the same thoughts as yesterday, you feel the same emotions, and you behave in the same ways, all because your energy remains tied to an old narrative. But if you decide that your future deserves more attention than your history, you begin to dissolve the emotional bonds that have held you in place. You start shifting your energy from survival to creation, from memory to possibility. This shift is not about pretending the past never happened. It's about refusing to let it control the direction of your life. When you consciously choose to focus on who you want to become, your brain begins forming new pathways. Your body starts adapting to new emotional states. You train yourself to feel aligned with the future instead of trapped in the past. This is how transformation happens, not by fighting your old self, but by starving it of the energy that keeps it alive. The more you focus on your vision, your potential, your intentions, the more your energy moves forward instead of backward. Your mind is always creating something. It is either recreating your past or constructing your future. The deciding factor is where you place your focus. If your attention is anchored to old pain, you continue attracting situations that match that frequency. If your attention is directed toward growth, healing, or success, you elevate your energy to match the person you want to be. The shift may feel uncomfortable at first because the old self will try to pull you back with familiar emotions, but discomfort is a sign that you are moving beyond your limits, not a sign that you're doing something wrong. You must become aware of the moments when your mind tries to revisit old wounds or old patterns. Catch yourself before you fall back into the story. Pause and redirect your attention. Ask yourself who you want to be in that moment. Choose a thought that matches your future instead of repeating one from your past. Choose a feeling that aligns with the life you want instead of the life you left behind. Every time you make this conscious choice, you take a step toward becoming your future self. The truth is simple: you cannot create a new future with the energy of your past. You cannot step into your next chapter while feeding the previous one. When you stop investing energy into old stories, you break the emotional addiction that kept you stuck. When you invest that energy into who you want to become, your body, your mind, and your environment begin to shift in ways you couldn't imagine before. In focusing on who you are becoming, you give yourself permission to evolve. And evolution always begins with one decision: to stop feeding the past and start feeding your future. Most people live their lives in a constant state of reaction, pulled in every direction by whatever is happening outside of them. The noise of the world, the expectations of others, the unpredictability of circumstances, and the chaos of daily life slowly drain their energy without them even realizing it. When you allow your attention to be dominated by external events, your emotional state is no longer yours. It becomes dependent on things you cannot control. You get frustrated because someone behaved a certain way, anxious because something didn't go as planned, or discouraged because the world didn't match your expectations. In those moments, your energy is no longer yours. You've handed it to whatever triggered you. This is why withdrawing your attention from external chaos is such a powerful shift. When you stop letting the outside world dictate your inner world, you begin reclaiming your power on a level most people never experience. You start understanding that true mastery is not about controlling circumstances. It's about controlling your response to them. By pulling your attention back into your inner state, you become the observer rather than the reactor. You give yourself space to breathe, to think, to choose how you want to feel instead of being carried away by automatic emotional patterns. The external world will always be unpredictable. People will always behave in ways you didn't expect. Situations will always arise that challenge you, but the moment you anchor your attention inside, on your breath, your thoughts, your energy, you create a stable center that the outside world cannot disrupt. It is like stepping into stillness while everything around you is moving. From that inner stillness, you can respond with clarity instead of panic, intention instead of impulse, and strength instead of weakness. When you disconnect your emotional state from external triggers, you immediately raise your level of consciousness. You become aware of the small moments where you used to react automatically. You notice the irritation rising, the anxiety forming, the frustration building, and you realize you have a choice. You can let the outside world pull you into chaos, or you can bring your attention back to your inner state and stabilize your energy. This awareness becomes a habit, and that habit becomes transformation. Anchoring your attention inward does not mean disconnecting from life. It means entering life with a stronger sense of self. It means you participate in the world without losing yourself in it. You handle challenges without collapsing into them. You stay rooted in your intentions, even when the environment tests your patience, your discipline, or your emotional balance, and the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, the things that used to steal your energy no longer have power over you. When your attention is anchored within you, you begin creating life from the inside out. You are no longer shaped by random events. You are shaped by your own choices. Your emotions become intentional. Your thoughts become clear. Your behavior becomes aligned with your vision instead of your fears. The world may still move unpredictably, but you no longer move with it unless you choose to. You remain centered, grounded, and in control of your energy. This is where true transformation begins. When you stop giving your attention to external chaos, you finally hear your inner voice. You feel your own energy. You recognize what you truly want, and from that inner clarity, you start living with purpose instead of reaction, with direction instead of confusion, and with power instead of exhaustion. Every emotion you choose to feel shapes the energy you carry, and the energy you carry shapes the reality you experience. Most people allow their emotions to arise automatically from their environment. They feel stressed because something went wrong, irritated because someone disappointed them, or discouraged because a situation didn't unfold the way they hoped. These reactions become habits, and over time the body memorizes these low emotional states as if they are normal. But the truth is, you can break that pattern the moment you intentionally choose a different emotion, one that raises your energy instead of draining it. Choosing elevated emotions like gratitude, clarity, inspiration, or calmness is not about forcing yourself to feel positive when you don't. It's about becoming aware of how your emotional state influences your energy and deciding to shift it with purpose. Gratitude, for example, immediately changes your internal chemistry. It signals safety to your body, relaxes stress responses, and opens you up to possibility. Clarity rearranges your focus, helping you see solutions instead of problems. Inspiration lifts your energy and makes you feel capable of action. These emotions create a higher vibration within you, and that vibration influences the thoughts you think, the decisions you make, and the experiences you attract. When you choose elevated emotions intentionally, you begin to change your internal frequency. Think of your emotions as signals. You are broadcasting them into the world with every thought, every reaction, every breath. And the world responds to the signal you send. Low emotions send out a signal of contraction, struggle, and resistance. High emotions send out a signal of openness, growth, and creation. The shift begins inside, long before anything outside of you changes. But once your internal state shifts, your external reality naturally begins to match that new energy. This process requires awareness. You have to notice when you slip into lower emotions, when tension builds in your chest, when frustration rises, when worry starts repeating in your mind. Most people carry those states for hours or days without realizing how powerfully they influence their lives. But when you become conscious of them, you give yourself the opportunity to intervene. You pause, take a breath, and choose a new emotion deliberately. In that moment, you break the emotional momentum that keeps you stuck in patterns you don't want to repeat. Emotions are not just feelings, they are instructions for your body and signals to your environment. When you choose elevated emotions consistently, your body begins to adjust to them as its new baseline. You train yourself to feel calm instead of anxious, confident instead of doubtful, grateful instead of dissatisfied. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Eventually, elevated emotions start to feel natural, not forced. They become your new normal, your new identity, and your new energy signature. Choosing elevated emotions also shifts your perspective. When your energy is high, you see opportunities instead of obstacles. You make choices from a place of strength rather than fear. You communicate with more patience, move with more intention, and think with more clarity. This internal alignment brings you closer to the future you want because you are behaving as the person who already lives in that future. Transformation begins with emotional choice. When you choose gratitude, you open your heart. When you choose clarity, you direct your mind. When you choose inspiration, you elevate your energy. These choices reshape your internal world, and your internal world shapes everything else. By intentionally choosing elevated emotions, you reshape your energy, and when your energy shifts, your entire life begins to shift with it. Alignment is one of the most powerful forces in personal transformation, yet most people move through life completely misaligned without ever realizing it. Their thoughts pull in one direction, their emotions pull in another, and their actions move somewhere else entirely. They desire success but think in terms of doubt. They want peace but carry stress as their default state. They imagine a better future but behave in ways that keep them tied to the past. When your inner world is fragmented like this, your energy becomes scattered and weak. But when your thoughts, emotions, and actions all align with the same vision, Your energy becomes coherent, focused, and powerful. Your thoughts are the blueprint of your future. They shape the image you hold of yourself and determine what you believe is possible. If your thoughts are filled with limitation, fear, self-judgment, or negativity, your mind creates an internal environment that contradicts the future you want to build. Your emotions are the fuel. Every emotion you feel influences your energy. If you think about success but feel unworthy, the emotion wins. If you imagine growth but feel fear, the emotion wins. Emotions are stronger than thoughts because they live in the body, and the body often follows what feels familiar. Finally, your actions are the expression of your internal state. They reveal what you truly believe. If your actions are inconsistent, hesitant, or aligned with old habits, they reinforce your past instead of your future. Transformation happens when these three elements, thoughts, emotions, actions, move in the same direction toward the same intention. When you think thoughts that match the future you desire, when you generate emotions that make that future feel real, and when you take actions that support that vision, you create powerful energetic alignment. This alignment sends a clear signal to your subconscious mind, your nervous system, and even your environment. It tells your entire being, this is who I am becoming. Most people struggle because they try to change their actions without changing their thoughts and emotions. They attempt to force new habits while still carrying old emotional patterns. This creates resistance, frustration, and inconsistency. Real change begins internally. When your thoughts shift, your emotions shift. When your emotions shift, your actions follow naturally. You no longer force yourself to improve, you evolve into improvement. You act from a place of coherence rather than pressure. Alignment also creates momentum. When you feel emotionally connected to the future you want, motivation becomes effortless. You don't chase progress, you are pulled toward it. You wake up with clarity instead of confusion. You make decisions with confidence instead of hesitation. You recognize opportunities that you previously overlooked because your inner world wasn't tuned to them. Aligned energy heightens your awareness and sharpens your intuition because you are no longer conflicted inside. The power of alignment lies in the consistency it creates. When your thoughts support your emotions and your emotions support your actions, you build a stable foundation for transformation. You become less reactive to external circumstances because your direction comes from within. You strengthen your identity, and that identity begins shaping your behavior automatically. You start living as the person you want to become, not someday but now. Your future is created through alignment. Think like the person you want to become. Feel like the person who already lives in that future. Act like the person who is no longer limited by the past. When these three elements merge into one coherent flow, your energy becomes unstoppable, your vision becomes tangible, and your life begins to reflect the clarity within you. Living from consciousness instead of old subconscious patterns is the difference between creating your life and simply repeating it. Most people operate on autopilot, running the same emotional programs, thinking the same thoughts, reacting with the same behaviors, and experiencing the same outcomes day after day. These patterns feel automatic because they were built over years through repetition, habits, and emotional conditioning. The subconscious mind is incredibly powerful, but if you are not aware of what it is running, it will keep pulling you back into the version of yourself you are trying to grow beyond. Becoming intentional means interrupting this automatic cycle. It means stepping out of the comfortable yet limiting patterns that have shaped your identity for so long. Every time you react without thinking, every time you fall into familiar emotions of stress or doubt, every time you return to old habits, you reinforce the subconscious programming that keeps you stuck. But the moment you become aware enough to pause, observe, and choose differently, you stop being a prisoner of old patterns and begin acting as the deliberate creator of your life. Conscious creation starts with awareness. You must notice the thoughts you think the most, the emotions you feel the most, and the behaviors you repeat the most. These are the patterns that shape your identity. When you see them clearly, you realize they are not truths, they are habits. And habits can be rewired. By bringing your attention to them instead of unconsciously acting them out, you weaken their influence and create space for something new. Once you become aware, the next step is intentional choice. Instead of reacting automatically, you pause and ask yourself who you want to be in that moment. You choose a thought that aligns with your future, not your past. You choose an emotion that elevates you instead of limiting you. You choose an action that reflects growth rather than habit. These choices may feel uncomfortable at first because the subconscious mind prefers what is familiar, even if familiar is painful. But discomfort is not a sign that you are failing, it's a sign that you are changing. Repetition of conscious choices is how new patterns are formed. When you consistently choose thoughts of clarity, feelings of worthiness, and actions that support your highest self, your subconscious begins to absorb these new instructions. Over time, what was once unfamiliar becomes natural. You reshape your identity from the inside out. You are no longer acting from outdated conditioning, but from the vision you hold for your life. Intentional creation also requires emotional responsibility. You stop blaming circumstances, people, or the past for how you feel. You recognize that your emotional state is something you influence and direct. When you shift your focus from external control to internal alignment, you reclaim the power that old patterns once held over you. You no longer wait for life to change before you feel different. You change how you feel to change your life. As you grow more conscious, you begin to notice how much energy you were wasting on habits that didn't serve you. You reclaim that energy and redirect it toward building the person you actually want to become. You find yourself responding with calm instead of reactivity, clarity instead of confusion, intention instead of impulse. This is the essence of transformation, choosing to create from consciousness instead of reliving the past through old subconscious programming. When you become intentional, when every thought, emotion, and action is chosen rather than inherited, you step into your power. You stop repeating your old life and start designing a new one. You become the author of your identity, the sculptor of your energy, and the architect of your future.